G'day everyone, and welcome to Griffinix Tabletop Miniatures. In this video, we shall assemble Grombrindal the White Dwarf for Warhammer Age of Sigmar. Let's move that out of the way. I'll put it over here. That over. And here we are. The sprue. Now, maybe a little difficult for you lot to see quite like that, so I'm just going to change the camera angle and just point that down. There we go. Now we can see the sprue a little nicer. It's better in that light there, and you can see the the nice details on his belt and of this sort of dragon head motif sort of thing that he stands upon. You can even see the details there on his axe blades, which looks really nice. And let's have a better look maybe at his head and his face. There we are. That looks nice. And he's got little, I didn't actually realise they're little axe heads at the bottom of his hair there, those little jewellery pieces. I think that looks nice. Now obviously this kit was originally made for Warhammer Fantasy Battles, as you can see, with the little square base. Now that's easily fixed because we can just put it on this base instead. Now what we'll need at the very least is a pair of clippers, and you probably want a pair that's a little less rusty than this pair, just for safety and all, but that's what I've got. A nice sharp blade, or X-Acto knife, X-Acto blade, whatever you want to call it. Again, you don't want one as rusty as this. Please use cleaner and better tools than I'm going to. And, of course, the pièce de résistance. You need this, some nice plastic glue or polystyrene cement to those that care. Alright, now what I'm going to do this time is cut out each of these parts and work out how I'm going to put it together. Probably a good idea to come in with a plan. Now I do already have a bit of a plan, and that plan is to like I said, cut the parts out, but I intend to take part of the scenic bit off the square base and put it on this round one, so that I don't have to do as much with the texture paint and stuff like that, and I can just use it to clean up the the edges and stuff, make it look neat and tidy. And I think that'll be pretty cool. Now for myself, I probably won't use this model in games, to be fair. It's just more of one just to have, like on display. Be nice to have him fully painted up. And I'll probably do another video where I do that, where I show my technique for painting Grombrindal. Now, let's carefully cut that out. Just make sure you don't cut off things like that little tail, ponytail there of hair. You don't really want to destroy any of that. Just carefully take the parts out. I'm not too worried about, noticing what number all the parts are. I can tell by the general shape, because there's not exactly much in the way of repeats or anything like that, or similar other parts. So, it is a very straightforward build, so I'm not too worried about cutting all the parts off and doing it this way. But, by all means, anyone that Works on any kit. Do it the way that you feel is best. Alright, for your skill level, etc. Now, you can see the bottom of that's pretty deep inside, so I'm not too worried about cutting this edge off. But I'll do that just bit by bit. So, it's got this little lip that goes all the way around, which you can use to sort of slide your clippers into. So you see along there, this nice little line. Before I cut the last bit off, I'll just make sure I show that on camera. If you look closely here, it's a bit hard, it's not really zooming in on it. Oh, there we are. You see the little lip? Oh, it's gone again. Silly camera. Anyway, there's a lip that goes around the outside. And you can just hit, or sit rather, the clippers blades just in it and on an angle and just cut, and it will cut fairly straight. Not that it matters too much, like I said, we're going to clean it all up anyway and make it look nice on the base later on, so that's not something I'm too terribly worried about. I just might start to just cut away some of these corner pieces, just to sort of round it off a bit. Like I said, I'm going to use texture paint anyway to help make it look more natural and less squared. Alright, that's about good enough for me. Move that out of the way. Apologise for that vibration and noise, it's just the arm and the spring on it. Now, okay, let's start by keeping these parts aside, and I do still have to clean up those parts, don't get me wrong. I will go over them with the blade. Whoops, sorry about that. Now, as you can see, I want this to be flat and to sit reasonably flat on the base, but we've got this rise on this side, which is the holes here for where the that dragon head motif piece sort of would sit. So just got to be mindful that I might, given that's a little deeper than that line on the edge there, I might want to just trim this back just a tiny bit, smooth it out a bit. Just gently using my clippers to sort of file it down. If you had files, that would probably work a lot better, a lot easier. But I do have files, but I'm pretty good with the clippers. Like, I can control them to do that. I have been doing this for a long time. Alright. Now, we can glue this to the base. Now, I'm not too worried about it not making the best contact all around, because, like I said, I'm going to fill the gaps, I'm going to use texture putty, all that sort of stuff. It'll make a secure bond in the end. So, as you can see, with the instructions, it shows us skipping that bit, not putting this on. But I think it helps elevate the miniature a little bit further off the ground, which personally I like. So I'm thinking that's how I might do it. I'm just going to check though, by getting these two pieces, sitting them together, and just having a little look. Because it appears that that's sort of how that goes. Which is fine. Yeah, like that. Alright. Okay. It's good to test things, like, you know, just put the parts together beforehand, just to make sure that everything you're putting together doesn't make, you know, like that there's no gaps, or that if there are gaps you're aware of them. Things like that. You just make sure everything fits together nicely. Nice little bit of what you call dry fitting. Now if you're doing dry fitting and you're finding it awkward to hold things in place, may I suggest using a thin amount of blue tack or sticky tack or something? That usually will help you to get a better result. Now I'm a huge dwarf fan, all the way back from Warhammer Fantasy Battles, all the way through Age of Sigmar, and now, once again, thank goodness, into 40k with the Leagues of Votann. Now I'm a huge, like I said, huge dwarf fan, huge old squat fan, so the fact that they're back and I'm able to collect them now, and I've got a force of them, and I can't wait to show off all the models I've worked on. Quite a few kit bashes among the lot, which is nice to give my league its unique look and flavour. Now that's something I tend to do with all my armies. I tend to do a lot of kit bashing, customizing, and things of that nature. Just, yeah, like to put my own personal touch on things. That's my favourite part of the hobby. The next favourite's probably the actual building and stuff, followed by the painting. And probably the only reason why I'd put the painting last is probably because it takes so dang long to get a really good job. Although, as time goes on, you'll find that you're able to paint quicker and to a better level and degree, so long as you practice the skill and just keep trying. Don't give up. I'm just going over all the parts, as you can see, and just cleaning up things. There's not too many mould lines or anything, and if there are, I'm not too worried. They're fairly small. I'm not here to make every miniature perfect. That's not the plan. I'd be here forever if I did that. It's like I'm a little bit of a perfectionist, but not that much of one, you know? Tabletop standard is all I'm after. That's all I'm after. So, if anyone thinks that, you know, that's silly or ridiculous, you know, let me know in the comments. And if you agree with me, also let me know in the comments. It'd be nice to know if some people are like, yeah, I can paint better, but I, you know, can't be bothered sometimes. Or we haven't got enough time, or, you know, the family's busy, or whatever. We all have lives. But, yeah, be interesting to know. Alright, now when you're cutting little bits off the arms here, just be careful not to cut too deeply, because you don't want to cut into the muscle tissue, like on the arm and stuff. You don't want to get rid of the nice definition that's there, unless you want to, you know, create a wound or something for the dwarf. I'm just checking, did I get the one on the bottom here? No, I didn't on this one. So I'll just fix that up. Try not to break the lip at the end of the handle. Nice. Okay. So I'll just clear that up. Nice. Be careful with this bit too. On the beard, it's just, they're so small, those little beard jewelry axe heads. Because you get a little thing you got to cut off on there, and it's just so small, and you just don't want to damage it. Get the one on the hair there. I've got another one up here on the side of the head, just above the ear. Try not to clip the ear with your blade, or tool, or mold line scraper, whatever it is you're using. Just be very careful, and see how I am technically cutting towards myself? You probably shouldn't do that. Or I probably shouldn't encourage you to do that. However, I have been doing this a long time, and for me, it allows me greater control, but I'm not putting much pressure on this blade at all. I'm just very securely holding it to my hand here, and just directing it gently, ever so gently, by just moving this finger like this. And it just, whilst holding it against the thumb like that, I'm just gently moving it back and forth. But yes, you'll find over the years, as you get better at working with your miniatures and things like that, that sometimes some of the rules that people say, oh, this, do it this way or do it that way, you might find that you have your own way. And as long as you've got control and you're relatively safe, yeah, I think that's all right. Anyway, there we are. So very quick, doesn't take long at all. Now, move these parts out of the way and let's blow some of that crap away. Now, I'm going to start putting it together. I'm going to start by gluing the two halves of the dragon head motif that he's standing on, that he's launching himself up into the air off. And there's his little foot, as you can see. Let's glue this in place. And then, move on to the next part of the miniature. Alright. I used to have an old metal White Dwarf miniature that came from one of the old White Dwarf editions many years ago. And I can't remember which edition it was and when, and obviously, I'm from Australia, so it was in an Australian one. It probably makes things a little bit more complicated. But I really wish I knew where the miniature was. I would have gotten it out and shown it off here on the channel whilst working on this one, and then maybe later on did a thing to paint them both up, because I never painted it. It was a little metal miniature. He has a pipe in one hand and something in the other, the axe in the other, I think it was. Pretty sure it was the White Dwarf, because I wouldn't have had it at the time if it wasn't the White Dwarf, I imagine. Alright, let's keep that in shot there. And now I better put the top part of the head and all that sort of together. So what I'll do is I'll get this little piece, alright, get a bit of glue on and around that, take that, and then clearly this has to go on this side, just like that. It just sits in like that by the looks of it. Oh dang. Oh dang. I try not to get glue on my on my bench top like this, especially the plastic glue, because it will melt through this board eventually. I suppose if this is going to be my workbench, I'm going to get a few drops there. I can't be upset about it. Now, the only thing I'm more worried about is, getting glue on the bases of things and sticking it to the bin. That's what I'm worried about. Alright, we've got that glue on that side. Now we can... Whoa, there we are. Line it up right. Helps if you line it up correctly first, and then it usually sits or sticks a bit better. There we are. Just move it away a little bit, and then you can see. Nice. Okay. Whoop. I want to keep doing that. Now, do I put the face on there? Yes, I do. Right. Now, this bit I just did off camera, but all I did was put a bit of glue down that central bit, making sure that there's glue on the lip of that plastic on that side, alright, and a little on the lip on that side. Just going to give that a minute to, well, not a minute, maybe 30 seconds or so, just to soften up, and I'll make sure there's an extra little bit on that part. Maybe even on the base of that neck there. And just give it 30 seconds or so. And that should help prepare things a little bit. Alright, let's get those two parts together, and voila. There we go. Nice. There. Any excess little bits of glue you can just wipe away with either a little bit of tissue, or probably shouldn't use your finger like I was doing just before, because the glue is carcinogenic. It can cause you problems if you keep touching glue. So I recommend, actually, if you are doing something like this and you don't want to get cancer, probably wear gloves. But then again, you know, the gloves can get glue on them and start melting, and that causes problems too. So, you know, do what works for you. If you feel you need gloves, use gloves. Okay, now that glue went on a little, came out a little quick, so I'm just going to use the tissue to absorb some of it up and to rub the rest of it over the top of his sort of waist there. And then what I'll do is, I've already put glue on the bottom a bit, like at the bottom of his leg there, near the ankle joint. And I'll put a little bit on here, just to make sure that softens that up. I'll just take away a little excess. Give that a few seconds. I'm just trying to build this in a rather quick way, saving time. So, you know, if I was taking my time, I'd probably do it a little differently. But see, there he is. Now he's got his launching out sort of look. It's coming right at us. I think he looks quite cool, to be honest. Anyway, I'm just going to gently, see the little drop of glue I've got on the end of my needle already? I'm just going to use that instead of squeezing more out, and just gently move it over the surface here, where it will make a connection with the legs, basically, and the waist. Give it a few seconds, and then put it together. Now, sometimes for better results, you know, if you're using different parts on different miniatures and you're trying to put them together, just leave about 30 to 60 seconds, you know, putting the glue on both ends, sort of thing, lightly on both ends. You'll get a reasonably good result, I think, personally. It's a bit wobbly, because that's quite a bit of weight leaning forward. So what I'm just going to do is sit it like that, with the glue supporting the weight, and just let it dry. Now that'll take some time. As you can see, I move it away, he starts to fall. So I'm just going to sit it there, probably at a slightly higher angle than I want it to be, just because I think that later on, once that's removed and the extra weight of the arms here I put on, it may cause him to lean forward a little bit further, and that's fine. A little bit further is okay. That's why I'm compensating in advance by giving it that little bit more support now. So let me put it back there about, yeah, that'll probably do, actually. Maybe that little bit higher up. There. I like that. Okay. Now I'm going to leave that for the next, say, 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes. Have a cup of tea, and I'll be right back. Right, now, that cup of tea really did hit the spot. Now, move this away, and let's have a look. Right, he appears to be standing on his own, on that angle now, quite well. So let's just give it a bump with my finger. Yeah, it's fairly sturdy. If you feel that, you know, leaving it for 5 to 10 minutes wasn't long enough, just leave it a little bit longer. You know, just be a little bit patient. That's all I can say. This hobby, it does require some patience. You know, whether you're building, painting, or playing games, learning the rules even, reading the book sometimes requires patience. But that's alright. Here we go. Let's get a bit of glue on these arms. Now, I was tempted whilst I was drinking my cup of tea to come back and be like, yeah, now let's change the axes on his arms and, you know, all this sort of stuff. And I thought, you know what? No. On this miniature, I am going to build him as he is because he is special. He is Grombrindal. And I would like to have him as is. You know, it's be nice to have it in the collection so that if someone sees it, they know exactly what it is. Now, I can just paint him how I want to paint him instead of necessarily how he is painted in the artwork. Of course, he'll have the white hair going on because he is the White Dwarf after all. Now, I'm pretty sure this arm goes on like this. Yes. There we are. Let's just get it into position. That's a bit better. And there you have it. There you go. Now I'm really happy with how he's turned out. He looks quite good. The details there. It's a nice little model. Would have loved to have him in my old fantasy dwarf army. Most of those have become various types of free guild, as they were called, for Cities of Sigmar. However, now that's changed too, so I might have to do a whole series of kit bashing videos about my Cities of Sigmar army in time. But yeah, this'll do for now. Nice little Grombrindal. Up on his thing. Looking cool. And yeah, that's the whole deal, isn't it? Now I'm going to be very happy to get him painted up, but might be a little while before I get around to doing it, but when I do, I don't imagine he'll take too long. If we look at the artwork here, as an example, you can see there's not too much to him. It's just a bit of the metals on here, things on his arms, the thing he's standing on, obviously, on the ground. And then you've got, the little details on his jewellery, again, like on the beard and on the wrists. And then his white hair, and then you've got his skin tone, and his coloured pants. Like, I mean, it's not much there to paint. So much detail and such a cool little figure. Yeah, I really like it. Most importantly, what do you think? Do you think it's a good model? A good kit? A good old one? Or something that needs to be updated, changed, replaced? What do you think? I'd really be interested to know. Please leave any questions you have, queries, comments, etc. in the comments below. And yeah, if you enjoyed this content, again, as usual, please hit the subscribe button, turn on your notifications, and yeah, give us a like if you liked it. That'd be helpful too. I thank you very much for watching. I'm Matt the Hat, and I'll catch you in the next video.